TV umpire to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?
Welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll It. I've got with me Karthik Krishnaswamy KK, whose depth of cricket knowledge could rival Ramchandra Guha and Gideon Higgs. I've got with me Sid Monga, whose forthrightness of opinion could match Richie Bernard or Michael Holdings. And I am Dustin Silgado, whose sense of irony could match Chetan Sharma and Salil Ankolas. And we're going to get into a topic today that I'm sure will have a lot of moments of irony. We're going to be talking about this recent India-West Indies Test series and also the larger picture in terms of what India's Test side is shaping up like under Gautam Gambhir and what are the kind of staples of his reign as coach of the Indian Test side. Let me start, KK, with talking about the second test, India versus West Indies in Delhi, where we saw some tactical decisions made by India that have raised some questions. India firstly declared quite early in the first innings, which I guess is somewhat understandable. But then after bowling 80 overs in the second innings, they decided to enforce the follow on. And as a result of that, their bowlers ended up bowling 200 overs on the trot. And despite them bowling 200 overs on the trot, they did not at all use their sixth bowler, which is Nitish Reddy. So, KK, tell me, you were watching the test in Delhi. What did you make of these tactics? And having listened to the press conferences after, what sense did you get of what India's thinking was in terms of these tactical calls?
Yeah. So first, I think let's try to give the India point of view what they thought. Firstly, the declaration I think was fine, especially given the flatness of the pitch. It made sense to have time to bowl out West Indies twice. So that was okay. The follow-on was puzzling, given that they had bowled that many overs in the first place, and there was heaps of time left in the match. And so later at the end of day three, when Hope and Campbell, Shea Hope and John Campbell were still batting, and at that point, Ryan Tenduscarter, the assistant coach, he said, "Okay, we thought the pitch was going to break up much quicker, and it would be at its worst for batting by this time. That is by the end of day three, and like it would get even worse." So that was what he said India were thinking when they chose to enforce the follow-on. And that didn't happen. The pitch just slowed down even more. And it meant that India kept bowling in the second innings. And yeah, it went to 200 overs. But yeah, even if it were to kind of break up earlier, even if it had broken up considerably and earlier, why not bat again and bowl when the conditions are at their absolute worst? So I felt the follow on decision was it didn't make any sense. Maybe my thinking is that with this Australia tour coming up so soon after this series, maybe India felt, okay, we bowl the West Indies out quickly, and maybe we get an extra. Maybe they were even thinking by day three they're almost done and they just have to bowl a little bit on day four, and then can wrap up this series and move on to that one. There's a fair amount of overlap between the players who are playing this series and the players who are touring there. So maybe that could have been the thinking, and I felt if that was the thinking, that definitely underestimated the West Indies batting a lot, and kind of smacked of maybe like taking them a little lightly. And yeah, uh, maybe that's not true, but like it gave that sense.
Yeah, and
Uh,
also if you're thinking about resting players, aren't bowlers the bowlers the ones who need more rest? Wouldn't the logic be it's okay if our batters have to bat an extra innings, but we're not overusing our bowlers? Unless the thought was, as you said, finish the test off so quick that the bowlers have 2 complete days to put their
mm,
feet up. They did seem
yeah.
quite excited to finish the test within 3 days in Ahmedabad. I think Siraj, for example, was saying, "Great, now we'll have the extra 2 days off."
Hmm.
But Monga, do you think that this was a decision based purely on trying to finish early and getting rest for the players who are going to Australia? Or was there an tactical element to why they would enforce the follow on at that point?
Yeah, I can't see any tactical element to it. It was mostly these guys clearly wanting to get done with it. They had this choice of whether we give the bowlers a session and a half off, and then as a result of that, we spend one more day on the field, or we put in another big effort, finish it off today, and then get 2 days completely off. And it is a little contemptuous of the opposition that you have only 270 runs lead, and their last two wickets have batted 25 overs. There's an element of expecting West Indies to just roll over, because anything else does not make sense. Uh, there is the pitch. If the pitch is going to get worse, why do you want to bat? If at all you'll have to bat, why do you want to bat in those worse conditions? So yeah, and it also kind of uh, the use of bowlers. I am a little worried about the use of bowlers under this team management, not just this series, but throughout, where it's just valuing them, just looking after them. That kind of element is slightly missing in the two big series that India played before that. Also, the workload was if you see the opposition, the workload would be more evenly shared between four fast bowlers. India never had that luxury. India were always doing it between among just three, which resulted in Bumrah being overworked, and also because Bumrah was captain in Australia, he had to play every test, so he could not get the rest in those in between those test matches, and he was clearly overworked. That stress reaction is by its definition, it is a stress reaction. It is a reaction to overuse. That happened in England. Siraj had to put a Superman effort to keep India alive in that series and to level it. I mean, day four, um, day four of that series, if England had not let India get back in, I think there was one loose shot that got India back in. India were looking leg and leg. Everybody was just completely tired. No, so it is for a test team to be successful, it is very important that they look after bowlers. They do not bowl them into the ground. They give them enough uh, cycle of rest, exertion, break. So when India turned the corner in Test cricket at some point in the last decade, one of the things they realized was that their fast bowlers had the skills, but the fitness was an issue where they would get tired, or their pace would fall, their intensity would fall as the Test match went on. So it was identified to two things. One is fitness, of course, and the depth of the attack. Now, fitness, in that fitness, it was identified that you have to look after them. You cannot, bowl like you cannot use them like mules and then expect them to be like thoroughbreds when in every session. So that is something we are just coming back to those kind of old MS Dhoni days where India would play six batters, six full batters who would not contribute with the ball. There would be only four bowlers, out of which one would be a spinner, and those three spinners would be just bowling, bowling, bowling a lot of overs. There are so many test matches that we remember, from Headingley against England to Wellington against New Zealand to Sydney against Australia, where India would get to a good start, get 3-4 wickets, and then the opposition would be able to kind of weather that period and then come back and feast on bowling, which did not have the same intensity. And these guys need to watch out against, getting back to that kind of tactics where you are not playing you're not playing enough fast bowling, B, you're not looking after them well enough, where uh, you lose that intensity, that dip happens. So that is something India need to be really, really mindful of. And from what we've seen in Australia, in England, and also this was slightly overconfident, slightly contemptuous of the opposition. But what happened? You ended up bowling 200 overs and coming back on the fifth day. Was it really worth it?
Yeah, just to provide some numbers on that, if you look at fast bowlers since the start of 2024, Siraj and Bumrah are the only fast bowlers in World Test cricket to have bowled over 500 overs in that period. The next highest is Chris Wokes with 440. And that's despite England playing a lot of tests. It's because England rotate their fast bowlers. You've got Stark and Cummins bowling just a little bit over 400 overs. Gus Atkinson has bowled about 370 overs. So Bumrah and Siraj have had by far the most workload. And this brings me to my next point. Yes, sorry, Monga. Yeah.
Yeah, so this also ties in very well with the numbers that we did during Border Gavaskar Trophy and the Pataudi Trophy or whatever they call it, where Australia and England would have the percentage share of bowling would be pretty even between the top three, and then a slight dip on four. Whereas India would be top three guys bowling a lot, and then 4 5 would be doing nothing, because either they would have selected in a way where, it's either Nitish Kumar Reddy or Harshit Rana who are not able to carry that load, or they have not even picked enough bowlers, or they have picked spinners. And
Yeah,
like
or is
for like
Shardul Thakur?
optics, yeah, for optics, it sounded great. India playing Washington Sundar and Jadeja and NKR, which makes it 6 bowlers. But when you need impact, you're using the only 3 bowlers, which is why they were overworked throughout Australia, throughout England.
Yeah. So the point, yeah. So the difference here is that Jadeja and Washington are full bowlers in India, and they had Kuldeep as well. So yeah, while the contempt part of it was probably there, that they thought West Indies, how long are they going to bat anyway? There was still insurance that if they had to bowl a lot, they had 3 spinners to do the bulk of the workload. But yeah, even so, that brings us to the next point, which I guess we're going to talk about, which is that you had that sixth bowler who didn't bowl a single over at all, Nitish Kumar Reddy.
Which shows that you got desperate, right? Which shows you just wanted to keep bowling strike bowlers. You were not that confident about that game then. If you were very that confident, so it's like clarity of thought is kind of missing. If you were so clear about what you were about your confidence about everything, so you would at least bowl Nitish Kumar Reddy. And before the start of the test, you said we want to give him work. You promoted him to number 5. And then suddenly your confidence completely goes away, where you are not bowling, you're desperate to just get wickets then.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
but this is where I was very confused with the answer that the Indian team management gave about not bowling Nitish Kumar Reddy, that we were prioritizing winning the test match. So we wanted to bowl the bowlers who were most likely to pick a wicket. But the fact is, India bowled 200 overs straight. And you had so many different match situations within that, right? For example, in the first innings, West Indies were 150 for 5, which became 150 something for 6. Even at that stage, you were not confident to bowl Nitish Kumar Reddy, even though you had such a big margin in the match. You had some leeway. If he comes on and bowls 5 overs and goes for 40 at that state of the match, it doesn't really change the complexion of the game.
Oh, then the match goes into the 4th day, right? So they're trying to fulfill so many targets.
But okay,
So
even when they had West Indies 8 down in the first innings, they didn't even use him to try and nip out the last 2 wickets. So they don't even think he
yeah,
can
so
get the
because
tail off.
they're so desperate to finish it in 3 days. So
Right, but that
the
then
window
meant that
the flipping that has happened is so quick. So right now, see, they're going. We want to finish in 3 days. We want to go all out. We want to go all out. And then suddenly, when it goes into 4th day, you start to get a little scared. Oh, what if we get a big target? So we can't bowl Reddy. We have to bowl our main bowlers. We don't want to lose control. So that kind of lack of clarity was there, where they were very flippant with their tactics and the usage of bowlers.
Yeah.
I
So
still don't get why they wouldn't use him to at least open the bowling in the second innings when they had a 270-run lead. Or even if you want to say in the second innings, fine, they got a little bit nervous when that big partnership built. They felt West Indies might be making a match out of it. But then again, you had West Indies 260, 270 for 7 and 8 in the second innings. Or even at some stage when you had them 5 down, you're still well ahead on the game. And you know that your fast bowlers may be getting a little bit tired. Or just you bring somebody on for something a little bit different. I really don't understand how over that entire 200 overs, when you had various different match situations, various different types of batters coming in at some point, even the tail coming in. Like, I wish somebody had asked Gill, okay, at what point, what situation would you bowl Nitish Reddy? Like, what is the match situation where you would bowl him, right?
Well, when there's some nip, as we used him at Lords, they used him very well at Lords. Remember, He brought him on before the third bowler itself and he got wicket. So I think Reddy is a bowler who will be used when there is some help.
which
Now,
is which is
which
why
is
the only 4 overs he bowled were on day one in Ahmedabad when there was grass on the pitch.
yeah.
And then after that, there was no more bowling for him. So, I mean, I can see the team management's point of view of why they are playing him in the 11. Okay, which is that because you have Jadeja and Washington, who are two proper bowlers in Indian conditions, and two proper batters as well, you don't, I mean, you can pretty much play with 10 players against, unless your opposition's very strong, you can pretty much play with 10 players, and that 11th spot becomes somewhere a spot where you can kind of groom a player, where you can, use either a batter or a spin bowling all-rounder, or even like a Prasidh Krishna, if they were the kind of team management that was like, okay, let's play another full proper bowler, but they're not that kind of team management. So, and it is legitimate to say, okay, we have identified that Nitish Kumar Reddy has the raw material to be a good seam bowling all-rounder in the future, especially away from home. And while that is true that in the future he can get to, that sort of position where he's an automatic pick. Right now, also, there is a certain amount of, especially with his batting, you can definitely play him when you have the security of Jadeja and Nitish. He's got 100 at MCG, and he's got a lot of talent with the bat. So if it's a choice between him and say Devdutt Padikkal, why not play Nitish Kumar Reddy? So I completely see why they're playing him in these test matches. The question of like not bowling him, I think it comes down to the captain on the field saying no. I want to get these wickets out as quickly as possible, and that means I'm just going to keep going back to my five main bowlers. And again, like when you have five bowlers, that is also going to happen at some point. So whether it happens in this stark way where he doesn't get a single over, it just looks weird, but I can understand all of the different bits of thinking that contributed to this situation.
Then the next question asks itself. If you're looking at Nitish Kumar Reddy to be your long form all rounder and he has never built those workloads, is he better off playing a season of Ranji Trophy and not traveling with the team to Australia for limited overs tournaments, where at least, he can play 5 matches in 6 weeks, bowl 20 overs in every innings and kind of you be used more than he's being used here. So that his body is, I think Ten Doskata himself said that his body is not used to that kind of workloads. So isn't it better that he plays Ranji Trophy then?
Maybe, and I think after he comes back from Australia, I I haven't really looked
Straight
at the
best, straight back into the
straight back
tests
into
for
the
against
test
South
squad.
Africa.
I have a feeling he's not going to be part of that squad, because I don't think India are going to look at that series as a kind of series where they can develop a player. Uh, if Rishabh Pant especially comes back, then there's going to be a lot of like competition for who that Nitish Kumar Reddy spot goes to, or whether
Hmm.
they, I mean, they'd have to
No,
leave
so
on someone like
Rishabh
Jurel.
Pant comes for Jagadisan. No,
He
Jagadisan is
comes
in
into
the
this. He comes into the squad for Jagadisan, but
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
a
the problem is the squad. I mean, if he's in the squad, he's not playing Ranji. I'm not talking about 11. If
yeah, no,
Reddy
no, no,
is in
no.
the
I'm saying he's probably not going to be in the squad at all. This is my feeling right now.
because Pant will replace Jagadisan, so
Yeah,
there's no need to remove Reddy out of this 15.
Yeah, but they might decide if they're not going to play him, then they may as well let him play Ranji. But going back to why he didn't
hmm.
bowl in this test, I know, Sid, you're saying that he didn't bowl because he's going to be used only when the ball is seaming around. But even if you are going to develop him to be an all-rounder in away conditions, you have to consider that very often he
Yeah,
is going to be the guy to come in to bowl when a side is 150 for two, right? Because you're going to be
yeah,
with your
and
best bowlers when the ball is moving around. What you might need a ready for is if a side is 150 for two, 200 for three, which West Indies were in this innings. And
no,
would be
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
would have been the perfect opportunity to bring in Nitish and say, can you just bowl a good line and length and try and nip out a wicket, even on a flattish deck? Because that is exactly the kind of task that you might have to do in New Zealand at some future point, in Australia, in England, where also sometimes the pitches are flat. So that's where, and this is my question to you guys also then, is that do you see synergy between the way the coach and captain are thinking? Because clearly the coach and support staff has had some role in picking Nitish Reddy in the 11, but then the captain has not bowled him. Do you guys see synergy between Gambhir and Gill on these kind of matters, or do you see a little bit of a gap there in what both of them want? Going back as well to the England series, there was some inkling that at times Gill wanted to play Kuldeep, or certain times just in the way Gill used his bowlers, it seemed like he didn't necessarily have full faith in the bowlers that had been picked in the 11. Shardul is another great example. Is there a bit of synergy lacking there between the captain and coach?
I would, I mean, I can't say for sure, but whether like it's certainly Gill's call to like not bowl Nitish there, but whether the team management behind him, the coaching staff were also backing that fully, I don't know, honestly. But if they pick the guy, I think they would expect that, he's going to be used at some point. I'll give the example of like, when India were batting, West Indies had Justin Greaves in, as one of their three seamers. Of course, they don't have India's resources, so they have to keep going to him to bowl, a few overs. But he bowled and he tried the kind of tactic that teams will try on slow pitches in India, slow, low pitches, which is you bowl at the stumps, you have short extra cover, you have short mid wicket, and try to get a guy caught there or like, just dry up that bore a wicket out. And definitely Gill could have tried that. Yeah, there could be like a kind of lack of synergy there. Whether it's a lack of synergy on selection, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure like Gill, mm, I mean, it feels like Gill would see the point of picking him, but bowling him, I don't know. Uh, Whereas something like the Shardul Thakur thing, where in England he was barely bowling, and then Nitish Kumar Reddy replaced him in the next test, and he got the ball when it was uh, 11 overs old or something like that. So there it seemed like, Gill didn't rate Thakur, but he was like, he thought Nitish brought something that he could use even with a newish ball, and, it worked for India as well. So I don't think he sees, I don't think he, I think he looks at Nitish Kumar Reddy as someone who can be useful in certain situations. But he pretty much looked at him in Delhi and went, no, I'm not going to give him the ball. I don't know what
Yeah,
that's. Yeah.
but if you're looking to develop him, I agree that you have to show some confidence in him, some faith in him, and
Hmm.
even in live situations, you have to be able to, tell him, hey, I trust you. Which
Hmm.
is the same thing that happened with Jadeja, that you started to bat him higher and started to trust him as a batter, and his batting flourished. So if you're playing him, then may as well bowl him. It's a very simple thing. You have to have some heart, you have to take a leap of faith, and you have to show confidence in him.
Hmm.
Okay, moving on to some of the positives, and there were a lot of positives for India from this series. Of course, one big one was Kuldeep Yadav finally getting to play Test cricket and ending as the leading wicket taker in the series with 12 wickets. Do you think that this is going to convince the Indian team management in any way that Kuldeep should be played even in away conditions, or will they just say, no, this just proves, in fact, that he's a match winner in India and that's where we'll use him?
I think there was that.
Rant, yeah, yeah, please.
I was gonna say the same thing basically, but yeah, that uh, on day three, Tendus Carter said like, yeah, you can look back at. He specifically mentioned Leeds and Manchester as the two tests where, basically kind of conceded that Kuldeep could have made a difference there. And yeah, he was like, yeah, but we make these decisions before the match, and we can't do anything about it. But he himself said that in the future, this performance in Delhi, has done Kuldeep some good for the future, where, on certain pitches abroad, where uh, they're like, looking to win the test match and play, they might, sacrifice a bit of batting depth and play him.
Yeah, and Tendus Kata is a very, very fine person, I think, and he's a little too honest for his own good. I don't know
Yeah,
how his
yeah.
how his head coach views his press conferences,
I
because
mean, there is so much that if you want to read between the lines, there's so much in everything he said that you can read between the lines. Like for example, there was a quote that said something like that kind of hinted that at some point during the England series, India were like picking teams where a draw would have been an okay result.
No, he almost admitted before Birmingham that India were playing for a draw.
Hmm.
That match where it could rain. Lords is going to be livelier. We are not going to risk Bumrah here. It
Hmm.
was it was kind of like it worked out. That's another story. But yeah, he's he's very very honest and he.
And before the match, like the series is still alive, still going, and somebody asked him about the hundreds that just the runs that India's batters are scoring and what it means to them. Would they feel the same as if they scored against England or Australia? And he said, yeah, I mean, it's a test 100, but yes, you do want to be scoring them in your BGTs and against England and possibly South Africa, which is a little,
Hmm.
given that they're world champions and everything. But yeah, like if you want to read between the lines, he always gives that to you, and that's,
And
it's nice
even
for
if you do,
journalists. It's not great for the team, to be
no,
that honest sometimes.
I don't think. I mean, why? He's being honest, and you don't need to read between the lines also. And what he said about Kuldeep, it's nice for a team to admit, hey, we might have at least right now we think that we might have got it wrong. In that moment, we did not feel that we are doing something wrong, and we were doing it for the best reasons, best with the best intent. But now we might feel that we might have got something wrong. It's good. It's nice to admit it. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
there are no repercussions for him
Mm. Yeah.
reading what people see in the
Yeah,
newspapers and websites.
Yeah.
he was
And
also very honest
yeah.
about Sai Sudarshan's place in the team, saying that
Mm,
he will ultimately come under pressure because there are lots of people vying for that role.
yeah.
Now,
One more thing on the Kuldeep point. I feel like sometimes, as much as somebody might have done earlier, like so, that England home series where Kuldeep, if you watched it, I mean, you and I would be like, come on, you can pick him when there isn't much help and he'll still get you wickets, right? But sometimes I think team managements need to be convinced by performance during their own tenure, and I think they had to wait
Yes.
until this moment for that to happen, and for good or bad, maybe
Yeah,
this changes things for the future.
it's like Pujara had to prove himself to the Ravi Shastri, Virat Kohli team management afresh. Ashwin
Yeah,
had to prove himself afresh.
yeah.
uh, but I do get a feeling that kind of this team management kind of underestimates its own team.
Hmm.
Uh, Kuldeep Yadav, for example, and their own batting, they kept underestimating in England, where they just kept, you know, pushing for extra batting cover, extra batting cover. They kind of underestimated. They were also kind of thinking, oh, there's no Virat Kohli, there's no Rohit Sharma, there's no Sachin Tendulkar, there's no VVS Lakshman. But yeah, so they kind of they really sometimes I just wonder if they really know what they are sitting on.
Yeah.
The
yeah, they
talent that they are sitting on.
this is now Gambhir's first series victory as India's Test
No,
coach.
Bangladesh.
Oh, sorry,
Mm.
it's both series victory since the Bangladesh series victory. It's Shubman Gill's first series victory
I
as
think
Test captain.
I
Uh,
think they need I think they need Donald Trump to tell them you will win so much you will get tired of winning.
Because do you think now that they've got this confidence that the batting order is settled with the back top order getting a lot of runs, we look ahead a little bit now to the South Africa series. I would say one of the staples of the Gambhir era of India in Test cricket is this insistence on batting till number 8. As Sid says, that sometimes then leads to having only 3 or 4 strike bowlers and the workloads being them having too heavy a workload. Do you think now that they will be convinced to change things a little bit? I don't think the combination will change much for the South Africa series, but do you see them having a little bit more faith now in the top order, looking going forward and picking more strike bowlers?
I
I
hope so. I hope I mean they have also been very flippant with their decision making where they don't let it run its course and see how it works out. Another example was how Jaiswal comes out and try like there's 120 runs to get in 18 overs plus an extra half an hour if you bat uh, urgently enough. Jaiswal comes out like, hey, we want to. The way Jaiswal is batting, it seems we want to finish it today. And then suddenly you lose just one wicket. I can understand, okay, you don't think Sai Sudarshan can do the job, so promote Reddy or Jadeja or somebody. At least give it a proper red hot go and then come back. If you lose 2 or 3 wickets, you come back. It should not take just 1 wicket for your whole strategy to change. So, and poor old Jaiswal, he must be feeling so rotten.
But
But
there might
then,
have been some doubts because this is the exact target, wasn't it, that India were chasing all those years ago?
That was 120. This is 121.
Yeah, so they may have thought that, okay, we are only going to risk 1 wicket, and then after that, we have to just play this normally and make sure that we actually win the test.
for some weird reason, I was reminded of that Dominica 2011 chase where India needed some 75 runs in 15 overs and 7 wickets in hand, and they didn't go for it. They took the draw. I was just kind of, oh, they're taking the draw here. They are not. If,
I
would they
think
have? If this was the final day, would they have gone for it? Was the question that came to my mind.
yeah. I think
I
I
think
think
they would have if it was the final day. Yeah.
I think Gambhir after that Napier innings is like draws are the best. This is what I want. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I hope that they back now that they have discovered that they have realized that they can be slightly more attacking. They can trust their batting. Shubman Gill is good. Yashasvi Jaiswal is good. KL Rahul is good. Uh, Dhruv Jurel has also done well in Rishabh Pant's absence. Otherwise, if Rishabh Pant is there, he's perhaps the best batter going around. Looking at the kind of conditions he's batted in. So I hope they go now and they back themselves. Sometimes even if they get bowled out for 180, it's okay. You have the extra bowler to keep you alive in the contest. It's better that way than the frustration that you carry after the England series and keep wondering what if, or the frustration you carry from BGT. India were not that far from, thanks to some rain in Brisbane, India were not that far from 2-2. If India had enough bowling, if Bumrah had been fresh enough, who knows?
Yeah. And uh, I just think the South Africa series. See, in India, playing this extra depth doesn't harm their bowling. But yeah, at some point we'll have to see what they do in New Zealand. I think in Sri Lanka also, like,
Same.
they can play this combination and it'll be perfectly fine. So it's just that this historical kind of quirk that has happened, like say over this decade, that India have had such a wealth of spin bowling all rounders that today everyone's talking about, oh, Jalaj Saxena has never played Test cricket. It's because of that, and uh, because of that historical quirk, you got to see, okay, what different team managements have done with it. uh, the ones before this were happy to, like, leave out one of India's greatest ever spinners repeatedly away from home and play an extra fast bowler, play, like, try whatever they could to, like, take 20 wickets when they were away from Asia. This one is using this one so far has used this historical quirk in a different way, where they're playing like Jadeja and Washington Sundar, both of them, even in, tests outside of Asia so far. And another all-rounder sometimes. So yeah, it still remains to be seen what they will do in New Zealand. As far as South Africa goes, I don't think there's any need for an extra strike bowler as such. But yeah, how they use this Nitish position is the one that I'd be interested to see.
I hope
What
if
kind of,
if he doesn't get into the 11, I hope he's released to go and play Ranji Trophy.
Hmm.
what kind of challenges are you expecting South Africa to pose to India? Or do you see this Indian side now as just being very strong and starting on another reign of dominance at home? Or do you still see some areas of concern or some vulnerabilities that can be exploited by South Africa?
I,
If you again make those 3 day square turners, and if Maharaj is fit, then you leave the door open. You give them an opportunity. Otherwise, I struggle to see. I mean, unless there's like a quirky pitch that happened in Bangalore against New Zealand where it has rained so much that you cannot prepare the pitch and there's seam movement. If we are typical Indian pitches like the one we had in Ahmedabad, I really struggle to see how South Africa can take 20 Indian wickets.
Yeah, even
I,
without Maharaj, I mean, South Africa were just given a pitch that was taking a lot of turn in Lahore, and Muthuswamy has ended up with 10 wickets. and Pakistan put under a little bit of pressure actually. In the end, they managed to defend a total of 276. But
Oh, 276 is a lot, no?
it is. But they did bowl. I mean, South Africa managed to bowl Pakistan out for 167 second innings, which is again, making the same point that when you have a pitch that is really taking spin, bowlers like Simon Harmer, Muthuswamy, they all come into the game and they can take wickets. So
Yeah,
I mean, it would make sense for India not to provide those kind of pitches, considering that they have enough bowling to take wickets. With Pakistan, it's a slightly different scenario where they were finding that they didn't have the bowling to take wickets on
Yeah.
flat pitches. So they went to this strategy. But India surely should be confident that they have the bowling to take wickets on a fairly flat pitch.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I was going to say. That India definitely have like, I mean, Sajid Khan and Noman Ali. I don't know like if they'd be like taking wickets consistently on even like uh, say an Ahmedabad type pitch where there was enough like bounce, enough like turn from day two onwards. I don't know if they'd be able to do that. So therefore, Pakistan have to kind of play on those pitches. For India, I think one potential threat is that Calcutta of late has provided a little bit of seam, little bit of interesting sort of up and down conditions sometimes. And if the weather kind of leads to a situation where the pitch uh, is slightly at the mercy of the weather, where they don't have time really to prepare it, they have to leave grass on the pitch or whatever, for whatever reason, then there is a chance that Calcutta could be an interesting kind of venue for South Africa's fast bowlers to come into the picture. And the fast bowlers could come into the picture if it's flat also. And the last time South Africa came to India, 2019, and India's fast bowlers outperformed South Africa's fast bowlers by a massive margin, like averaging, I think, collectively 17 with the ball compared to 70 or something like that. That was partly to do with the fact that India won all three tosses, batted first all three times. It was like watching the same test match again and again, where they'd bat until uh, an hour after tea or even longer on day two, and then have two cracks at South Africa's top order with a new ball, right? Uh, so suppose South Africa win the toss, or they get into a position where their seamers can really come into a game. I think they could, potentially do something in that series, and it's a two-test series. So if one test goes, excuse me, if one test gives them that chance, right, to do something with fast bowling, then it could be a very interesting series, even that way. Even if India go with flat kind of pitches, and Guwahati is a new venue, so I have no idea what that's going to be like.
Yeah, okay, we've got. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, yeah, I mean, even if the pitches are like those 2019 pitches, and if there is that much seam movement that you still have to bat first, then India are the favorites. If there is so much seam movement that you win the toss and you can bowl the team out on the first morning, first afternoon, that is when South Africa's fast bowlers become superior to India's in India. Otherwise, those kind of conditions, there was a lot of reverse also that India used. And
Yeah.
even with the new ball, the difference was India was so much better at attacking the stumps rather than, nicking them off. South Africa's bowlers are more the nick them off type. So I really doubt if, unless the pitches are really extreme, I really doubt
Yeah.
that there can be any other result.
Yeah. One other thing I will say is that I think South Africa's fast bowling kind of on in the 2019 tour, they didn't it I mean the pitches there was a little bit of early help, and like in all three tests, I think the openers had to get through an hour of like, tricky sort of seam movement and stuff from Philander and Rabada. But yeah, after that, yeah, those were the kind of pitches where you would bat first blindfolded.
I still
So,
remember a test India South Africa 2015 in Bangalore where India chose to bowl first and they bowled South Africa out on the first day, but all 10 wickets fell to spinners. So
yeah.
we'll see if there's any of those strange situations that occur. Anyway, that India South Africa series is still a month away. So I'm sure we'll find other things to discuss on Rock and Roll It in the meantime. We've got the ODI series, India Australia coming up. So please, Sid and KK, keep your eyes open for whatever ideas you think that we can discuss heading into that. There's two guys who are returning for that series after a while, I think.
Yeah, and if you're not on social media or anything, I'm sure you've missed them.
Yeah, I think they both have played quite a bit for India. So maybe we'll discuss something around them during that India-Australia ODI series. But until then, this has been another episode of Rock and Roll It. Please send in your comments, but let them be fair and nice ones.
TV umpire to director, we have a review. Can you rock and roll it for me, please?